Hi, it's Rich here. Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring this episode of 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. If you haven't heard, AG1 is a comprehensive and convenient blend of over 70 high-quality ingredients, and it's so easy to drink. The first thing I do when I get up in the morning is add a scoop of AG1 to some cold water, give it a shake and drink. It's as easy as that, and it's now part of my morning ritual. As the new year gets underway, I like the fact that AG1 is one of the easiest things I can do for my health. AG1 contains vitamins and nutrients to support my immune system and key minerals and natural ingredients to help me maintain my energy levels and focus. As AG1 is a more-in-one supplement, it's so much simpler than stocking up on lots of different types of vitamins and supplements, and a really easy way to support a healthier lifestyle, especially as we're coming out of the gluttony of Christmas. 1 scoop of AG1 per day supports energy, digestive regularity, immune defence and a healthy mood, so I'll be ready to take on whatever 2025 has in store for me. Looking to give AG1 a shot? Subscribe now and get a free bottle of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription. Go to drinkag1.com/1865 and get started today. That's drinkag1.com/1865.
This episode is brought to you by Love Hurts. Kiwi Kwan has had quite a career, from childhood roles in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Goonies to a recent Academy Award win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But now Ki finally stars as a leading man in the film Love Hurts. Love Hurts is the perfect date night movie with its mix of over-the-top action, comedy, and a ton of heart. Love Hurts. Only at theaters February 7th.
The NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus in present and select states. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hello and welcome to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. It's Friday the 24th of January, and that means it's time for Friday 5. This is where we take a look at the top stories that have been making the news at the City Ground over the last week. And it's been a busy week, both on and off the pitch for the Reds, with Forest maintaining their charge at the top of the Premier League table by beating Southampton just on the weekend. And since then, we've had plenty of interesting transfer stories and other rumours coming out, which we will have a look at in a bit more detail later. I'm Stephen Topless, and in a moment we'll be joined by the Maradona of the Midlands. Now, Jamie isn't here this week, so Rich is here with us to give us the top Forest stories of the week.
Hi, it's Rich here, standing in for Jamie at the 1865 news desk. Here are this week's top stories. To start with, Forest have tied Murillo down to a new deal. In news that will be welcome to every single Reds fan, rectangular centre-half Murillo has not only signed a new contract until 2029, but he looks really pleased about it. We know that Mu and his wife seem happy in Nottingham and are expecting a baby, so let's hope that the Brazilian defender remains settled at the City Ground. The Reds have also apparently verbally agreed a new deal with Chris Wood as the big Kiwi enters the last 6 months of his Reds contract, so watch this space. Now a bit of incoming transfer speculation. The Reds are apparently chasing Brentford forward Johan Wissa amid reports that they have bid £22 million, which has been rejected by the Bees. The Democratic Republic of Congo international can play as a number 9 or on the wing and is a great finisher. With just 18 months left on his contract and the possible carrot of European football, it remains to be seen whether Forest can push this one over the line. Forest are also interested in Wissa Cunha, but Wolves are trying to suggest an asking price of £80 million, and it seems it would take a new club record fee to tempt them to part with the Brazilian. In terms of players leaving, The Athletic's Paul Taylor reports that Ola Aina is not likely to depart, as he will soon activate a year's extension on his Forest deal, and the club are also looking to tie him down to a longer-term contract. However, Andy Omobamidele may soon be departing, with reports that the defender could be off on loan to Strasbourg, with the Ligue 1 side having an option to sign him permanently. Again, watch this space. Now, on to matters on the pitch. Forest women have got a good 1-0 win away at Sporting Calça. It was a return to league action after a sporadic period with not many matches, and many of those coming in the two cup competitions. Katie Dungate's goal in the 74th minute was enough to earn the points and stay at the top of the Northern Premier Division. The next match is in the Cup, away at #United on Sunday. Of course, the men's team are also doing really well in the league, with last week's rather hairy win against Southampton keeping them in the Champions League places, and the Reds are sure to face a stern test away at Bournemouth this weekend. In his pre-match press conference, Nuno Espirito Santo reported that Callum Hudson-Odoi has been in a lot of pain with a tight groin following his withdrawal last week, and also commented that Bournemouth are, quote, a very good team, good players, good manager. It's a team that's going to be very tough and challenging for us. Of course, Bournemouth are also flying high and in a great run of form, but they are missing a lot of players, and there's really high winds forecast in Dorset this weekend, so who knows what will happen. So that concludes this week's bulletin from the 1865 news desk. You can get the latest via our socials, and all the links are at 1865.football. That's the word 1865, all as one word. Just a reminder, we are currently running a giveaway to give so that you can win 2 free tickets to see The Audience with Billy Davies at the Albert Hall on the 20th of February. I'll be back at half-time of this podcast with all the details. In the meantime, it's back to Stephen in the studio.
Thanks, Rich. So let's have a look at those stories in a little bit more detail now. And I've got the Maradona of the Midlands with me to do just that. Welcome, Maradona.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
And it's a pleasure to have you with us. So let's start with the top story, and that is that Forest defender Murillo has signed a new contract which will keep him at the City Ground until 2029. The Brazilian defender has played a huge part in getting Forest to where they are in the Premier League this season, and he's formed a fantastic partnership alongside Nikola Milenkovic, arguably as good as we've ever seen at the City Ground, the pair of them. And it's great to see that Murillo wants to commit his future to Forest.
Yeah, it's fantastic news, and pretty unexpected news, really. Ever since he came into the team, the speculation has been that he'll soon be off to either Liverpool or Real Madrid or one of the massive clubs in the world. And I was never quite convinced that he was ready. He's ready to do that, or the other clubs wanted him. But his performances this season have just elevated him to another level. It just looks better and better as time goes on, and he will be in demand. So having that new contract just maybe means we can keep him maybe a year or two longer. But I'd be surprised if he saw out the entire length of that contract till 2029. But it just gives us that little bit more security. And in terms of maybe time he spends here, maybe we could keep him till 2027 now. And when he does eventually go, hopefully we can command an even higher transfer fee. So yeah, it's good news. It's the best news we can expect for a player of that quality in this situation and that much potential. It's really amazing news.
And Forest have also tied down another key player to a new deal, and it's Chris Wood. Since the news was recorded by Rich, we've had confirmation from Forest that the striker has signed a new 2-year deal which runs until the summer of 2027. And it's just reward for Chris Wood's fantastic form this season and what he's doing for Forest. We spoke about him last time on Friday 5, just how good he is at the moment and the form he's in, arguably the form of his life at the age of 33. And he was on the score sheet again against Southampton on the weekend. He's proven to be a pivotal part of this Forest team. And more good news, Maradona.
Yeah, and who would have thought a year, 18 months ago, that we'd be offering Chris Wood a new contract, and we'd be delighted that he'd signed it. I remember when he first came in, he was on an initial loan deal. I think that was just a formality to just get past the older financial regulations, and then they wanted to extend his deal by a further year. I think it may have been the end of last season. I've lost track of time now. I can't quite remember. And at the time, it seemed the only reason we were doing it was because we'd spent 25 million pounds on him, and it would have been a terrible folly to just let him walk out the door so quickly, having spent that much money. But now it's because we desperately want to keep him and his goals. He looks in tremendous condition. His finishing is unbelievable, as good as anybody in the country. And it's hopefully he can continue doing that for the next couple of years. He's showing no signs of slowing down at the moment, and I'm really happy. I'm really happy he's staying for at least a couple more years now.
So the transfer window's open for another week, and Forest have been linked with some names. So first up this week, the club were linked with Johan Wissa from Brentford. It's reported that Forest submitted a £22 million bid for the frontman. He scored 11 goals in 19 Premier League appearances for the Bees this season. He can play wide or as a striker. He's got 18 months left on his contract, so it feels like there's potential scope for him to move on from Brentford, whether that is in this transfer window or in the summer. Now, I would say if there's one area of the pitch where Forest perhaps should bolster, it is the attack, because if something does happen to Chris Wood, I think Taiwo hasn't quite looked back to his old self yet, and there might be a bit of a drop-off. Something like Johan Wissa would be a great move, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone on record in the past few weeks saying that I don't necessarily think we need to buy a striker at this stage of the season. I don't think you get good value for money, and the choice is a bit restricted because the ones that are playing well, their clubs won't want to release them. You're more than likely to pick up, or the ones that will be released are going to be for top dollar. That's why the £22 million fee mentioned seemed very low initially, even if he's only got 18 months left of his contract. Is the sort of money you'd pay these days for a striker who's done well in the Championship, let alone somebody who's done that well in the Premier League. So I was a bit surprised that we went in quite so low. Maybe they had some sort of encouragement from the agent saying, hey, there's a deal to be made here, but I think Brentford are going to hold on for probably double that even now. There's no point letting him go. Each goal he scores in the Premier League is worth a lot of money to them in terms of positions in the table, so they might as well hold on to him in the summer and see if more clubs are interested. As a player, he's perfectly good striker. He seems to score against us quite regularly. I seem to remember him scoring with his yoga celebration at the City ground in the past. And but the only slight thing I had, well, two worries. One is his age. It doesn't necessarily fit the profile of a player that we've been buying in recent years, of sort of younger players looking to increase their transfer value in years to come. And secondly, AFCON. The AFCON is going to be back with us before we know it. So he'd be another player who we'd have to potentially lose for a month at some point next season. So those two things slightly worry me. But yeah, I'm still of the mind that we're okay. I think if Taiwo's given a chance, 2 or 3 games, he'd get going again. I'm sure of it.
Also linked with a move to Forest is Wolverhampton Wanderers forward Wissa Cunha. Now, this story, when it came out, I think got plenty of Forest fans excited because he is a very talented player and he's probably the best that Wolves have got. He's not been a player who has let them down this season because they have been struggling, Wolves, and he's somebody who's still caught the eye in amongst all that. Now, I've seen a few reports saying it could be about 60 million, which would break Forest's transfer record. It's reported, though, that Wolves want 80 million. Now, the Brazilian has also been linked with Arsenal, but again, it comes back to this, Maradona, that Forest are looking to improve their attacking options. And given now the position that we find ourselves in, chasing Champions League spots and who knows, maybe something more than that this season, somebody like Matheus Cunha, a player of his profile and ability, could take Forest on to that next level. What do you think?
I'm not so sure, Stephen. I don't know where he'd fit into the team. He's not an out-and-out striker at Wolves this season. He's been playing behind the big Norwegian Strand Larsen. And I can't see that he displays Chris Wood in the team. The only position I could see him playing is Morgan Gibbs-White's position. And I don't think anybody would want to see Morgan Gibbs-White pushed out of the team. That's why I can't see it really. I can't see where he'd come in. Having seen him in the past few seasons, I thought he was a good player, but he just couldn't finish. But he seems to have solved that this season with the goals he scored. But the other problem with the possible transfer is the fee. I can't see how we can possibly spend, even if it's say £60 million, and still stay within the PSR rules. I think, look at much bigger clubs than us, which are much bigger incomes, like Manchester United, and I don't know, Tottenham. They're really sort of being careful with what money they spend and who they're buying, and really having to raise funds by selling other players. I can't see how on earth we'd be able to spend that much money and stay within the rules, unless we're just planning to break them again. So with this transfer more than the Wissa one, I'm even more determined to say that I'm correct in thinking you shouldn't if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's a balance in the squad which is perfect at the moment. There's a right blend of personalities and team spirit's great. Bringing in somebody like for £60 million who'd almost certainly become the highest paid player at the club, and then sort of maybe dislodging Morgan Gibbs-White. If you're after spending £60 million, you're not going to have him sitting on the bench. So trying to shoehorn him into the midfield, maybe, or as a number 10, or dare I say it, dropping Chris Wood, seems like a risk not worth taking at the moment. I don't see the logic in it.
I think out of the two players that Forest have been linked with, he would be the one that seems the most unrealistic, if you like. Probably the one that we'd be most surprised if he did end up coming to Forest. But as we know, the club do spring surprises in transfer windows. We've got form for it in the past, and when Marinakis is in town, who knows what's possible. And when there's potential for Champions League football on the table, that would give a big cash injection to the club, but also for players like Cunha, who's played there before with Atletico Madrid. That could be a really tempting offer, but we'll wait and see. We've still got a good week or so of the transfer window to go, so I'm sure that this won't be the end of any incoming speculation for Forest. Moving on, so Ola Aina is reportedly going to stay at the club. He's going to activate another year's extension on his contract, but Forest do want to tie him down to a longer deal. And we've spoken about this before. I think that's vital that we get Aina tied down because he's been so good this season. I mean, last season when he came in, he was good, but this season he's been on another level. And attack-wise and defensively, he's been as good as anything in the Premier League. And we even saw on Sunday that last-ditch defending on the line that preserved 2 points right at the death against Southampton with that acrobatic clearance. The form he's in, Forest have got to keep hold of him.
Yeah, he's for my money, he's the best right back in the country at the moment. I think that crown passed from Kyle Walker to Ola in the home game against Man City last season, where all of a sudden Kyle Walker looked like a slow old man compared to Ola Aina, and he's just been brilliant ever since. And he's just the versatility of being able to play on either side, and just having that knowledge of being in the right place at the right time. He's just such a good player, and just more than anything, just talking about the balance of the squad as we were just a few minutes ago. regarding incoming signings. He seems to be such an important player in terms of keeping the team spirits up and blending the team together and everything like that. He just seems like a fun guy to be around.
And on the subject of defenders, it looks like Andrew Omobamidele could be on his way out of the City ground. He's been linked with a loan move to Strasbourg in Ligue 1. And it is a deal which also has the option for a permanent move down the line. I think this would be a wise move for Omobamidele to get some first-team football, because this season he's not had much of a look in. Last season he featured under Nuno a bit more, but I think certainly since Milenkovic has come in, that centre-back spot alongside Murillo has been nailed down, and nobody is going to get through those two, I think. So, yeah, it looks like Andrew Omobamidele will move on, and it seems like a sensible move, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a loan deal is absolutely necessary and perfect for him. And I'd be a bit sad to see him go on a permanent, though, because he came at the same time as Murillo, as somebody with potential who'd be good in the future. Maybe even at the time, we probably thought he was further ahead in the pecking order to Murillo, and probably maybe a more advanced player at that stage, having already played international football and a lot of games in the Championship. So I think we saw flashes of that potential last season, but he's still very raw and didn't manage to perform on a consistent basis to justify a full first team position. So yeah, a loan move is absolutely necessary and perfect for him. But still, with our only reserve centre back being Willy Bolly at the moment, I'd be loath to lose him permanently, because in the summer, if he played 6 months of top flight football, he'd develop on a bit and be ready to make more of an impact next season.
Hi, it's Rich here, and thanks as always for listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. Now, as promised, we have got an exclusive pair of tickets to give away for the audience with Billy Davies coming up at the Albert Hall on the 20th of February. In order to win 2 tickets for this event, all you need to do is answer the following question. So the question is, who was the first signing that Forest made, on loan or permanent, after Billy Davies took over as Nottingham Forest manager in his first spell? So who was Billy Davies' first signing as Nottingham Forest manager? To enter the competition, you need to email your answer to forestramble@gmail.com with the subject line Billy. That's forestramble@gmail.com and the subject line Billy. We will have a look at the answers after the closing date of the 4th of February, and the winner will be emailed with details of how to claim their tickets. So, who was Billy Davies' first signing as Forest manager? Email forestramble@gmail.com with the subject line Billy. We'll notify the lucky winner after the closing date of the 4th of February. Good luck.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Our next story involves Nottingham Forest women. They stay top of the Northern Premier Division thanks to a 1-0 win at Sporting Calza through a goal from Katie Dungate, and it's again another great result for them. Maintains this fantastic run that they're on in the league. They haven't played as many games recently due to cup commitments, but good to see Forest women continuing their great form.
Yeah, there's slightly disappointing news when they went out of the cup. the other day. But the league form is what's most important, and getting promotion to the second tier. And that train seems to have plenty of momentum. It's good to see both the men and women being sort of towards the top of their respective leagues. It's good news all round for the club.
Yep, a good time to be a Forest fan indeed. And our final story is looking ahead to Forest's next game, which is away at Bournemouth on Saturday. Now, it's a game between two informed teams in the Premier League. Bournemouth going along well under Andre Iraola. They are 7th in the Premier League. They've just beaten Newcastle last weekend at St James's Park by 4-1. So they are in great form. Bournemouth are a team that we've struggled to beat, not just since coming back into the Premier League, but seems to be for the last 20 years or so. They've got a bit of a sign over us. But I think it could be a really interesting game, this one, and another big test for Forest.
Yeah, potentially the toughest game we've got left this season, really, I think. They play with so much energy and pace and skill as well, and so all these sort of clever set-piece routines, which you have to really be alive to. They never really let you have a rest, and I think they've got one of the best records for scoring late goals as well in the division. So obviously incredibly fit as well. It seemed like a strange decision to get rid of Gary O'Neill at the time, but it's been completely justified in replacing him with Areola. And it's going to be a really hard game. I've been very confident with the last few months that we wouldn't get beaten at any of the games we played, but this one it's because they're a bit of a bogey side. But I think this might be the one game between the now and the end of the season where we do well to just get out of there with a draw.
Nuno has said that Callum Hudson-Odoi has been in pain with his tight groin that he picked up in the last game. Of course, he went off in that match against Southampton early. So we don't know if Hudson-Odoi will be fully fit for this one. Obviously, we hope he is, because he's been such an important player for Forest this season. But nevertheless, I think Forest have got enough to go to Bournemouth and cause them some problems. And I think with Nuno as well, I'm quite confident that we'll have a good tactical plan whatever game we play.
Yeah, definitely we will have. And you just got to have confidence in the team. It's difficult because for the past how many years we've just been Nottingham Forest, not very good, or at best good but inconsistent. And even when we've been good, we lose matches when we shouldn't really lose matches. So now that we're brilliant and like the best team in the country, it's hard to convince your brain that you should be confident going into every single game. But we really should be, looking at it logically, we really should be. Hopefully Nuno's just playing tricks with the Bournemouth manager there by saying, Callum Hudson-Odoi is not fit, and he will be fit. But if not, we've got more than capable replacements to come in Jota Silva and Sosa. So, let's just be confident. Let's not be too scared of the mighty Bournemouth.
And on that note, we will leave it there. My thanks to the Maradona of the Midlands and to Rich for providing this week's stories for Friday 5. Thank you also for joining us. We will be back with you with our match reports after the Bournemouth game. But before then, look out in your feeds for our special podcast series, which looks back at the 1994-95 season and Forest making headlines by riding high at the top of the Premier League. Does that sound familiar? Well, we're looking back 30 years on. It's a 2-part special. We will have part 1 in your feeds this weekend before the Bournemouth game. So something for you to listen to on the long drive down south. It's our special 2-part review. Don't miss it. The first part is in your feeds this weekend. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.